I'm in a really weird situation and I don't know who to turn to for help. My roommate let something strange into our apartment and I don't think it's going to leave on its own. I've tried searching online for answers, but all I can find are spooky forums and websites that just talk about using salt and iron to get rid of ghosts. Some people even joke about calling in fictional TV characters to solve the problem. But I'm not laughing, I'm seriously freaked out and need real help. This is not a joke, it's actually happening, and it's getting worse by the day. I'm so scared I can't even put it into words. I'm seriously frightened and I don't know what to do. About a week ago, I came home from work around 10:30 p.m., which is my usual time. My roommate Jackson normally works early shifts, so I'm used to seeing him asleep on the couch when I get home. But that night was different. He was wide awake, sitting in the dark, watching a scary movie. I said hello and threw my keys on the table, but as I reached for the light switch, he suddenly turned around and yelled at me. "Leave it off," he shouted, making me jump back in surprise. "What's wrong with you, man?" I exclaimed. He apologized and settled back into the couch, his eyes fixed on the TV screen again. "We're just trying to get into the movie's atmosphere," he said. I looked around the room, feeling a strange tension in the air. I didn't see anyone else, so I tried to make a joke to ease the tension. "Who's we? You got a mouse in your pocket or something?" But instead of laughing, he turned to me with a weird, glassy look in his eyes and corrected himself. He slowly turned his head back to the screen, where a masked killer was sneaking up on their victim. The way he was staring at the movie, combined with the dark room, the creepy atmosphere, and his weird reaction when I came in, made me feel a chill run down my spine and a queasy feeling in my stomach. Something about the situation just felt off, and I couldn't shake the sense that something was wrong. I tried to brush it off, saying whatever, man, as I headed towards my room. But he didn't respond, his eyes fixed on the screen with an eerie intensity. I turned back to look at him one last time before closing my door, and I could have sworn I saw something standing next to the couch out of the corner of my eye. I did a double take, but it vanished. Instead, I saw Jackson had turned his head towards me, his eyes still glassy and his mouth stretched into a creepy, toothy grin. I quickly shut my bedroom door and locked it, feeling a sense of relief once I was safely inside. I turned on my TV and started playing some random YouTube videos, hoping to distract myself from the weird encounter. I couldn't shake off the feeling that Jackson was trying to mess with me, scare me somehow. But what had just happened? I couldn't make sense of it. I was confused and spooked, and I just wanted to forget the whole thing. Jackson had always been a bit of a jokester, like the time he hid the vacuum in my room and set it to turn on automatically at 3 a.m. It scared me half to death, but I had to laugh at the silly prank. But this time, something felt different. This wasn't funny like the vacuum incident. This was unsettling and eerie, and I couldn't shake off the feeling that something was off. I lay in bed, staring at my TV, but my mind was stuck on Jackson's creepy smile. I considered getting up and confronting him, but before I could muster the courage, I heard the TV turn off in the living room, followed by the sound of him going to his room and closing the door. I had hoped he would come to my room, apologize, and explain what had just happened, but that didn't happen. Instead, I decided to try to get some sleep and confront him about it in the morning. At the time, I didn't realize that this weird encounter was just the beginning of a nightmare. So, I gave Jackson the benefit of the doubt and tried to brush it off. I know you're probably wondering why I didn't just pack up and leave right then and there. But Jackson had been my roommate for 3 years and we'd never had any major issues. He was a nice guy with no history of strange behavior, as far as I knew. It was easier to assume that it was just a weird night and my tired brain was playing tricks on me. I convinced myself that it was just a badly timed joke and eventually fell asleep. The next morning, I woke up to find Jackson sitting at the kitchen table, eating a bowl of cereal and scrolling through his phone. The aroma of freshly brewed coffee filled the air. "Good morning, man," he said in his usual cheerful tone, without looking up from his breakfast. "Help yourself to some coffee." "Morning," I replied, eyeing him suspiciously as I walked through the kitchen. Finally, he He caught my gaze and looked confused. "What's up?" he asked, shrugging his shoulders as he took another bite of cereal. "Last night, man." "Not funny," I said, frustrated that he was acting like nothing had happened. "You seriously freaked me out." I couldn't believe he was pretending like nothing was wrong. He laughed and shook his head. "Sorry, man, I was just messing with you." I guess the horror movie got me in a weird mood. I felt a wave of relief wash over me. I had suspected he was pranking me, but hearing him admit it made me feel a lot better. I don't mind a good prank every now and then. "Just save it for when I'm not so exhausted," I said, pouring myself a cup of coffee and heading back to my room to try and unwind on my day off. "You got it, brother." He raised his bowl in a toast and smiled a normal smile, but as I turned to walk away, his tone suddenly dropped to a low, eerie whisper. "We'll try to be more considerate next time." My gut froze. I spun back around to face him. "What did you just say?" I asked, my voice firm and wary. He mumbled with a mouthful of cereal. "Nothing," but I knew he had said something. "You definitely said something," I pressed on. "Dude, you're being really weird right now." He got up and put his empty bowl in the sink. "Listen, I'm sorry I messed with you last night. I promise I didn't say anything." "Okay," he seemed sincere, but I was still unsure. Despite my doubts, Jackson's denial was pretty convincing. I started to wonder if I was just paranoid and imagining things. There was no reason for him to manipulate me like that, and if I just let it go, things would probably go back to normal. "I'm just still tired and a little freaked out from last night," I said, trying to brush it off. I took a sip of my coffee and headed back to my room. "Sorry, man," I added, trying to move past the strange encounter. "No worries," he said, heading to his room. "Sorry I freaked you out with my joke. I thought that would be the end of it." But 2 nights later, things took a dark turn. I woke up at 1:30 a.m. to the sound of scratching at my door. It was like a dog was begging to be let in, but we didn't have a dog. I rubbed the sleep from my eyes and stared at the door with a fixed gaze. The scratching continued, making my heart race. The scratching sounds were small and quick, like rats scurrying through the walls. I got out of bed quietly and approached the door, pressing my ear against the wood. I could feel the vibrations of whatever was scratching on the other side. "Jackson," I called out, not sure if I expected him to answer. "What's up, man?" he responded quickly, but his voice came from the living room, not from near my door. I flung open the door, but there was no one there. The moonlight streaming through the window cast an eerie blue glow over the empty apartment. No Jackson, no rat, no dog, nothing to explain the scratching noise or the voice that had answered me. Instead of feeling scared, I was annoyed. Jackson was still trying to prank me and I was not in the mood. I marched across the hall to his door and knocked on it forcefully, ready to confront him. "Jack," I almost yelled, but restrained myself. I knocked again, firm but controlled. "Jack, what the hell, man?" Silence. I pressed my ear against his door, listening for any sign of life. "Jack," I called out again, this time softer. Still no response. I tried the doorknob, and to my surprise, it wasn't locked. As I turned the handle, a creeping sense of dread filled me, like something terrible was waiting for me on the other side of that door. "Hey man, are you okay in there?" I slowly pushed the door open, and as the room came into view, I saw Jackson sitting on his bed with his back to me. He was stiff and still, like a statue, with his hands on his knees. "Dude, what the hell is—" my words trailed off as I took in the rest of the room. I still can't fully wrap my head around what I saw standing there. It was like something out of a nightmare. A towering figure, almost 7 feet tall, stood next to Jackson, covered in a white sheet like a ghostly apparition, but without any eye holes. Jackson spoke, but his voice was eerily echoed by the figure under the sheet, its voice like a rusty gate, twisted together with his. "I'm fine. I'm just hanging out with my new friend." I was paralyzed with fear, my scream stuck in my throat. Something about this scene made me realize this was no prank, no joke. The figure under the sheet radiated an aura of danger, like staring into the barrel of a loaded gun. I was frozen in terror, unable to move or speak. "He came knocking the other night," they both said, the figure's voice slightly ahead of Jackson's, like it was controlling his words. "I let him in. He likes it here. So warm and inviting, I backed away slowly, terror gripping me, telling me to escape. I felt like if I ran, it would chase me, like staring down a predator in the wild. We can all be friends now. The best of friends. Jackson says, "You're easy to scare." The figure spoke alone now, its voice dripping with menace. "Show me." With that, the figure suddenly appeared right in front of me, like it had teleported. I was startled and stumbled backward, hitting my head on a framed picture on the wall. I scrambled to my feet and looked up to see Jackson smiling stiffly again, standing next to the figure. "Come on, brother," they said in unison. "Let's all watch something scary." The sheet lifted slightly, revealing a gaunt, gray arm, and bony fingers reached out and grabbed my shirt collar as I tried to make a run for the front door. I heard my shirt tear as I broke free and sprinted towards the exit. "We can all live here together. No need to run." The voice grew distorted and ugly, like it was underwater and scraping against shattered vocal cords. I flung open the front door and dashed into the hallway. The bright lights momentarily blinded me as I raced towards the stairs. Suddenly, knocking echoed from every apartment door around me. I saw some people opening their doors to investigate, but their faces went blank as soon as they did, like they were under some sort of mind control.